All right. Okay, as we look and you see what we have to do, what do you think are some essential knowledges, stuff that students are going to need coming out to just work in networking, to work in IT, to work in support, to work in something?
I think not enough. I wish that you could require CCNA from everybody,
Okay. So CCNA,
or at least that skill level. I think there's far too many people that don't understand subnets and routes and um, how all of that works and why it works the way that it works
okay.
and how fundamental that is to everything. At a very, very basic level. Um, there are so many system admins or developers that just don't understand that at all. Um, and in IT, there's a lot of weird, narrow scopes. Obviously, the developer doesn't necessarily deal with that every day, and that's fine. But the number of even server admins that don't understand subnet masks and gateways and IP schemes is kind of mind-boggling.
So like
The
Networking Plus, is that a good certificate, you think?
Yeah, yeah. If not,
Uh,
see,
Keep going.
certainly something that has that same kind of it doesn't have to be Cisco specific, but something that has that underlying base of fundamentals for how a network works and why it works the way that it works, um, I think would be beneficial to so many people. Um, the number of times that I've had to stop and try to explain that to somebody new or somebody that's been working in the field for 10 years is kind of mind-boggling.
Now, how many levels of networking are underneath you? Do you have a team that you work with at Clovis Unified? How big? I know you work with other areas within technology, but in the networking area, what type of levels do you have in your area, in your field?
So I'm the network manager and I have 7 guys working for me.
Okay.
One of them is a cabler, full-time cabler. He doesn't necessarily just do cabling. He's doing, fiber repairs. Um, he's fixing jacks in the wall. He's running new cable when we need something somewhere. Um, kind of that physical infrastructure maintenance.
Yeah.
The other things within my purview are phones, so VoIP, cameras, which are all over IP, networking, server administration, data center.
Yeah.
Um, we do, yeah, supporting, our storage systems and our ES6i infrastructure. Um, that's most of it. Wireless obviously is part of that. Firewall administration and policies. So across the 6 of us, everybody kind of has their little thing that they do on a regular basis. I wish we were cross-trained a little bit better. That's something I'm working on, but those all fall under networking um, at Clovis Unified.
Do you have any on-campus people who are qualified to do basic networking help and assist?
So my department, or the I guess department network guys, 6 or 7, um, are independent. There's another manager who's over. I can't even remember what we call it. Desktop support.
Yes.
So we've got something like we've got an org structure that you could go look up. 15 or 20 guys that there's various levels there. Some of them are here full time and are, just imaging or shuffling or doing hardware, fixing screens or manning the front desk if a teacher wanders in. And then as they go up, they rotate through the schools. So they have a set number of schools that they go to that they're responsible for, and they'll go to each one of those schools for half a day or a full day once a week. So they'll be at one elementary school in the morning, a different elementary school in the afternoon, a different elementary school the next day, different elementary school the next day,
And their desktop support, you said, right?
and their desktop support.
Okay.
We ask them, so they will do our patching generally. They're kind of that first line of defense. If they
Okay.
can't figure it out, then they roll it up to us.
Okay.
And with those guys, there's some of them are more willing to be helpful.
Yeah.
Some of them are very interested in learning more and want to be able to help and do the full service. Some of them are a little more standoffish. That's not my job. That's why you guys are here and aren't as helpful.
Yeah, I got that. So at a basic level, getting into networking in your division, you have to have some skill set. It's like the Fantastic Seven or something like that. You each have a certain power, superpower, if you want to say it, that you're good in. Or you said one's cabling, one could be subnetting. But what do you think you're looking at somebody? What do you think the one thing that you're really going to want from somebody in networking? You're going to hire somebody new.
I don't even know that there's necessarily a specific skill, so much as somebody that's ready and willing to learn and do.
Okay.
Um, and those are those kind of those soft skills that are a little harder to pinpoint. For me, yes, it would be spectacular, especially coming onto my team if they understand. Like they're not going to know um, anything if they don't know what a subnet is, what a subnet mask is,
Yes.
and kind of those again those basic net plus or CNA, CCNA type understandings of network. Because if you're working on the phone team, like that's a big part of it. If you're working on the cameras, that's a big part of it. If you're working on the wireless, that's a huge part of it. If you're working in the data center, being able to understand all the different VLANs and what they're for and how to make all of that talk, because that, it's not super hard. Servers generally work as long as there's connectivity,
Yeah.
right?
It's the problem when the emergency goes down, when something goes down, that's the problem.
Right. And so
Yes.
um, being willing to learn and then having an understanding of troubleshooting, I think would be the
Okay.
two.
But I heard you say something about soft skills because we have I sent you a link in the chat. You can look at it later too if you want to. But we have a thing, it's Office Customer Service. Basically, it's soft skills. It's a 2 unit class on soft skills. That's still valid out there. You still need,
Oh, yeah.
here's what I get at a community college. You get somebody that is just probably spent 12 hours a day just playing with this stuff at home or at friends, and they can really nerd out. But the problem is you put them in an environment in private sector, you put them in public sector, they have a little bit of trouble communicating. I don't know if you've ever met something like that. So you still
Yeah.
think soft
Yeah.
skills are important.
Oh, yeah.
Certifications are still important. It's just that they're coming with a base knowledge that you can then work with. You don't have to say, here's how you walk, here's how you run. You're assuming if they have a certificate, they have some ability.
Right. And I think at a large part, a lot of those skills or those abilities are teachable. I don't
Yes.
expect you to know everything. You can come in and, I'll work with you, mentor, and we'll teach you what you need to know, but being willing to learn and being able to not necessarily have to have somebody stand there and hold your hand,
That's 100%.
being able to, at Lyons, I don't know who recommended me if it was Lyons or not. Um, my CIO there, um, had this concept that we're technologists. Like the number of things that I do on a daily basis that I know how to do is honestly only maybe 20%.
Yeah.
The rest of it is figuring it out.
Yeah.
There's so many things that we're responsible for. And yeah, I've got these 6 guys, but they call in sick or they, take vacation or they're already working on something and something else happens. I got to figure it out. Um,
That's awesome.
and as a technologist, I understand, and I got a really good sense of that. That concept has been a concept for me for a long time, but for him to, define it that way, I thought was really really kind of cool. I worked for MSPs for like 10 years.
Okay.
And in the MSP environment, in a lot of situations, everything you do is different. There's very little structure a lot of the time,
Yeah.
from network to network or business to business. And they can all be very, very different. Some are work groups, some are domain, some are super well built out, and some of them are barely scraping by. And being able to figure out what you need to do and how to do it without somebody standing there holding your hand, like you either do or you get fired.
True. Got one more. I got another question. So we have actually three classes in networking that prepares students for Networking Plus, but we also have three classes in like cybersecurity. One is Intro to Security, Cybersecurity Ethics, Ethically Hacking, and Forensic Fundamentals. And that should prepare the students for Security Plus certificate. Do you guys have anybody who specializes in cybersecurity or protection, or is that everybody's job within the industry or in the technology department?
We have a guy whose official capacity is his official title is security analyst.
Okay.
He's somebody that was on this team before I came here and then got put in that role because it was something that was interesting to him. Um, Personally, I have done, again, having to wear many hats at Lyons. It's, in a lot of businesses, it's you or it's nobody.
Mhm.
At MSP, it's you or it's nobody. So figuring out a lot of that. I haven't ever taken any ethical, I mean, I
Uh,
have ethics, but I haven't ever taken any classes like that. I haven't taken any hacking classes. I think there's probably some value there to try to understand the whole MITRE and how it works. But those skills and the roles that I've seen in this area, it's not anywhere near at that level.
okay.
We're dealing with trying to figure out how to protect a network with 802.1x,
Yeah.
or we're trying to figure out how to um, use the logs and things in Azure to see if somebody got phished and how far they got.
Okay.
Um, we're making, for us in particular, web filtering rules and making sure that, our infrastructure is hardened. Um, and I just kind of view that, maybe that's security and maybe that's what you're teaching, but I view that kind of differently than white hat hacking or
I think
um,
what we have are everybody comes to the college like, oh, I want to be in cybersecurity. So I think what we've done, and I do believe it, we've made networking classes more advanced and we put the title on security. And so we break down networks. They're learning more about networks. And then once we get into like the fundamentals of forensics, you're going into a different path. But I think what we're trying to do is build their networking skills up at the same time teaching them um, some of the basics of cybersecurity. And we're trying to get a feel of what's out there. I think you have to, what I'm hearing, you have to do your time in the system until maybe you get to the point where you're the one person that gets put into that department to oversee cybersecurity within the Fresno. I mean, it's kind of like you
within
said, a
this
one-man
within this
shop.
area. Yeah.
It's a one-man shop if they have one. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I heard you talk about Azure and a whole bunch of others. What do you think about AI in the workplace? I know there's a lot of automation happening through AI and a lot of stuff. We're looking at doing at least some generative AI experiences for our students, if not a class, with the computer science department. Do you use AI in any of the stuff that you're working on?
Yes. So for the last 2 weeks, I've been working on trying to write some Ansible play scripts,
Okay.
playbooks that I've never used Ansible before. Um, and it's been amazing to be able to go to Chat GPT and say, "Hey, I need this playbook
Yes.
to do this thing. How should I do it?" And it's not giving me picture perfect scripts, but it's getting me 80% of the way there. And if I run into a problem, hey, I'm trying to run this task and it's giving me this, it'll say, oh, you know what? Yeah, why don't you try doing this? And I'll take that and paste it. And it kind of helps me progress. I think I've gotten further with it than I would if I had just bought a book or tried to read the documentation from, Ansible.com or whatever it is.
So for
Um,
information system students, even if they're at the desktop support, do you think learning some generative AI, just having some knowledge in it so they're just not don't understand it. They walk into the industry, they have some AI understanding in anything from Copilot to Gemini to ChatGPT, just some information in a class on it. Do you validate that that could help them, even if they're trying to get out of a troublesome situation on a network that they're in charge of?
yes, I
Okay.
think it would. It's I think it's important to be able to use those tools again. Working in, I didn't ever have that when I worked at an MSP. If it was broken, all I had was, Google searches. Um, and more, that's a big thing. You're ending up with users that are using it to do who knows what. I think that's all important. I think it's also important, though, to stress that that should not replace um, those hard skills.
Yep,
It
you
should
are
be
right.
used as a tool, not as I say, a crutch.
To enhance their work, not
To
to limit
enhance
their
their work,
work.
not to, I don't want to hire somebody that doesn't know anything but is really good at AI or,
Yeah.
AI engineering
Okay.
prompts.
Okay.
Um,
Do you utilize any AI built into your routers, hub switches on your network? Is it anything going out there that's making well, I shouldn't say decisions, helping you manage?
Not at this point.
Okay. Where do you see the industry going in the next 3 to 5 years at networking? If you had to say, here's my wand, here's where I hope it's going to go, here's where it can go, and here's where it's probably going to go, type of stuff like that. I'm trying to get this helps me create courses. And when I take my courses to curriculum, I have about 10 interviews I'm doing, and I'm going to record all these. And I'm looking for validation. If I'm going to create something, why am I creating it? My curriculum committee will say, why are you doing this? I'll say, I've reached out to 10 people in the profession, and this is what they say, blah, blah, blah. What do you think? Where do you think the future is going to be?
Honestly, I don't know. We've been hearing about SDN for a long time, but I haven't come across it yet.
Okay.
Um, I think it'll be more and more. We've heard about, cloud. Everything is cloud. Go learn how to do everything in Azure and AWS. And I think that's useful. Um, but I think a lot of people are also kind of realizing, hey, wait, that's really expensive. And it's, again, it's another tool that you could use in some circumstances, but it's not going to replace the, the everyday infrastructure that we have.
For
Um,
K-12, it's not going to, you're not
Not for
doing,
us, it's not.
yeah.
And at Lyons, that wasn't the case. I mean, yeah, we might run some servers up there for disaster recovery or for, you know, to save some resources from a data center perspective, but it's not going to replace, in my opinion, it's not going to replace what we're doing. Small
Okay.
businesses maybe because they don't have the money or time to support the physical infrastructure. I think there's bigger companies, school districts, they're always going to have on-prem. They're always going to be dealing with the infrastructure that we have. There's a lot of things with um, yeah, like software-defined networking or DNA, Cisco DNA that are super cool, but practically I haven't worked anywhere that can afford to pay for those.
Yeah, we were at one time a Cisco certified training center, but the problem is that the software and the hardware kept turning over so fast we couldn't afford to replace it. So we
And I
just,
don't know any business that's going to try to be competitive in the marketplace isn't going to be able to pay their network team to do that. It just takes too much time and money.
yeah,
If you're in financial services, maybe because you just have piles of money. But every business I've worked for or seen, it's, do we have to do that? How long can we stretch this? What we've got, I don't really want to replace that or pay for it.
Yeah. And then
Maybe
there's
that's just the
training
Fresno
involved. And
area, but
yeah, it's always on a, I always know, have noticed in Fresno County, usually in the technology area, it's sometimes created on a shoestring and some bubble gum because a lot of investments don't want to be made all the time. And especially within the farming industry, you have to really push people to get them to understand some of the technology uses and what they can do because it's, their bottom line is they have to make money and they're seeing buying all this stuff is kind of a detour to that end result. They're losing money. Well, they're stopping on their money because they have to add all these resources. But I'm hoping in
well,
the long run it's going to
yeah,
change.
I see the same thing at the school district. We're running a bunch of old switches and old APs because, the money isn't always there. Lyons was the same thing. They were owned by venture capitalists.
Yes,
And the priority is the financial numbers, not the stability of the network. That's why we're
true.
paying you.
You touched on cloud. What about a certificate in cloud computing? Would that be worth it? If somebody walked in the door to Lyons or to you and said, you know what, hey, I've got a I've got a networking plus, I got a certification in security plus, and now I'm working on my cloud plus certification. What does that mean? I don't know, but there are a lot of cloud offerings out there.
Um, the things that I've seen and worked in, that would not matter to me.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. Um, as we move on down, because I don't want to take all your time, if we ever get down to a point and one of my networking teachers, I'd always do it on Zoom, or if you wanted to drop by, would you ever be interested in like maybe doing a little guest or a little pop into a class and maybe we can record it talking about what you do in the industry, maybe 15 minutes, maybe even talk to the students about real world experiences.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good. Because I'm always trying to reach out again. I'm going to scroll down a little bit more.
I didn't send, I don't even know. Again, I don't know who told you about me or how you got a hold of me, but
Well, as I
for
interviewed these people, I have two people from Tulare County that sit on this. I just added, as I sit on this thing, and I'll ask you at the end, do you have any names of people that you would recommend? And yours popped up from somebody was it Tulare County? I don't know. It was one of those down there.
that'd be
You're
interesting
out there.
because I don't know.
And so then
Apparently,
I went and Googled you on LinkedIn and I found out some of your information and I found out about Lions and I think it's PC Saw or were you at
PC Solutions
PC Solutions?
was one of the MSPs. There was another one called Computer Technology Services. They got absorbed by whatever. I don't even know what they're called anymore. BCT.
Okay. Okay.
Um, no, I for a little while I taught at ITT when that was still a thing. I thought that was really fun.
Did you teach with a gentleman by the name of Craig Arnold?
I don't remember Craig.
He's at COS now. He was one of my adjuncts that went on and taught when it was there at where Clovis Unified is now.
No, the one of the guys that I taught with was actually the CTO here at Clovis Unified,
Good, good, good,
which
good.
was pretty cool.
Okay, we kind of talked about employee traits. We talked about the motivated versus the unmotivated. Um, I always tell my students, don't get your boss in trouble, but don't make your boss watch you 24/7. So what I'm saying here is take initiative. Don't get outside your area where you go, I think I can do this. That's when you get in trouble. But I see a lot of students, if I could teach it, my old teaching partner, we used to say, if I can teach initiative and how people take initiative and don't go past their their ability, I would because you see it in the classroom. I'll have 40 kids in a class and I'll say in my mind it's initiative. There's about 20 of them have full initiative and the other ones are just waiting. And I don't know how to grow it. But is that kind of what you're looking for? Somebody will take initiative, but not going to try to rewire the whole entire network if they
Hmm.
had the chance.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're describing the perfect employee.
Any gaps within the workforce that you're seeing as people coming in at the desktop, people coming in a network? I think we kind of covered it. Is there any gaps besides they need to continue training why they get it's just because they have certificates when they walk on the job, there's a lot more training to do.
Oh yeah, yeah. The only gaps would really probably be those soft skills or those those attributes that you can't necessarily teach.
Okay.
There's a big difference between the guy that you have to sit and watch and ask every day, okay, what'd you do today? And what are you working on? And the
Okay.
guy that, sees the problem and works on it.
Well, Preston, I have sent you in the chat all our classes, and I'll send it by email too. We're quite a big department because we do everything from the programming. Not we're not computer considered computer science, but that is our sister program we're paired with. So like the CSS programmers are going to be doing other stuff. We're going to be teaching a lot of programming. We're going to be teaching a lot of Java, a lot of Python. We even have some web design for people that come in. Your communication department handles the website, right?
Yes.
Okay, so just basic stuff like that. And now we're heavily into networking and desktop support, and also into cybersecurity, we call it, but it's just more enhanced. What I believe it's more enhanced understanding of your network. So take us some time, look at that. If you find anything, you go, wow, hey, why do you have this? Or that's a good one. Maybe you should change the name because we're kind of like marketeers. We have to have a really cool name to attract students.
Right.
If I put desktop support, they're going to
Yeah,
go,
that's not going to do
that
it.
doesn't sound pretty. I want to come out making $90,000. That's not going to make me $90,000. You're going to have to put some time in. Um, Anything else to add?
No, I don't think so.
I totally appreciate this time. Do you have anybody that you think you would like to recommend? I think you have Angela as your desktop support, right? Is that
Right.
her name?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hunting
I
her
think
down by emails.
I think she would be great to talk to. If you haven't, I would recommend talking to somebody in an MSP.
MSP?
Yeah.
Which
Um,
one would, there's so many around here. Would it be PC Solutions? There's one over there on Peach.
yeah. So PC Solutions is right there at Peach and Herndon.
Okay.
Um, and honestly, you could probably talk to any of them,
Okay.
and you may consider talking to more than one just to kind of see, because a lot of those entry level um, positions,
Yes.
MSPs see a lot of turnover. Some place like here, there's just not turnover. People come in and then they just stay.
Yeah.
So those
It's got
positions
good
don't open
benefits.
up a
You've
lot.
you've lived
No, it's
in
great.
the other side of the world. I mean, you could be on the top of the world. The next day they say, "Hey, we don't have enough money to keep going."
Hmm. And that's
I have,
that's one of the motivating factors for me to move to this position, is
yes,
it didn't open very often, and it's going to be super stable for me.
right.
Um, but like at an MSP, they see a lot of turnover, so they do a lot of hiring and see a lot more um, of what skills people are coming in. They're dealing with this, a much broader variety of networks and infrastructure and budgets, and um, I think it'd be interesting for you to talk to them to see what they're looking
I
for.
have a gentleman. I just pulled it off the top of my head, so I'm not going to remember it all. Luke. He is a recruiter, and they're out of Bitwise, the old Bitwise building on
Right.
Van Ness. And he's on my advisory as well as his boss. And they do that, but they do it all over Minnesota and here. But yeah, I'm going to go down to PC Solutions. I've been wanting to. I drive by it all the time. That's my nature. I want to push. I want something for my students. I've had 5 kids all go through Clovis. 4 of them have graduated. I don't want the. I tell my teachers I don't want a student to walk in here, and some parents out there going, "Hey, I'm busting my tail to get my kids through this. I want them to have success. I want them to find a job. I don't want to offer them something that's not going to be there in the long run."
Actually, I'm going to send you this email because they've been advertising this super heavily. Um, what was your email?
Um, it's uh, it's Brent Brent dot neighbors NABORS at cloviscollege.edu. It's funny I start here because I opened up Buchanan. I was there for 8 years, and I we were the first campus to have any technology, and I was the one that wired the whole entire thing. just being a math teacher, and they pulled me out, and that's how I got my experience to get to the college.
Nice. PC Solutions is having some sort of networking anniversary party, something or other, where they're gonna. It's a whole thing.
Thank you.
The owners of PC Solutions own
Yes,
13
Prime
Prime
13, 13 Prime, yeah.
and Yoked, which
Okay.
is their breakfast place that's in the same shopping center. Anyways,
Yes.
so there should be good food, and they're billing it as a networking event with prizes and
Good.
talk to a bunch of people. So you may take that opportunity to swing by. Kind of an open house for them.
That's what I always say. I'll stumble into something. That's what my wife says. What are you going to do when you retire? I said, I'll stumble into something. So, hey, again, thank you. I appreciate this. You don't mind that this recorded. I'm not going to share it with anybody else except for maybe my dean, because they have to validate that I've been out asking people
Yeah,
where I can go with my program and how I can make it better.
yeah, no problem.
Hey, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. And we'll be talking to you. Hopefully, I'll send you some email and keep you updated on what's going on and not just one time show up and then disappear on you.
That'd be awesome.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good one.